Hello, my name is Mr. Spear. I am the Steels instructor here at Newport Tech Center. I'd like to introduce you to the MIG welder. This is a 110 MIG welder. This machine can be used with either a gas cover over top of the wire or with a flux core. With a flux core, you have to change your polarity. Polarity is in the side of the machine, over here. As you can see, you have the minus connection hooked up to the stinger end, and that gives you straight polarity. Or you go with reverse polarity, which gives you a positive on the solid wire. So what you'll do is you'll come down here, and these are your two polarities right here coming out. As you can see, there's a wire tied to this block that controls the polarity going out to the stinger, which comes out and goes to this, which I have tied to the positive because we are running solid wire. And then this goes out to the ground cable, which goes to this cable here. This will go and attach to the work. We have a drive wire mechanism, which is right here. And then this is where the wheel pinches the wire against this wheel down here. We'll pinch it against this wheel down here. And then you set the tension with this spring head. And then that will drive the wire through a cable to get to the contact tip, excuse me. Before you start welding, you must open up the cap and turn on the bottles all the way. Once you turn on the bottle all the way, this gauge here should indicate a pressure. We run anywhere between 2,500 pounds to 0. Once you have 0 pressure, you have to change the bottles. Over here, this is your operating pressure. We want to have this operating pressure about 20 CFM. When you go to use the welder and you go to put it up, this cable has a bicycle cable style inside it, which will kink if you have it tied too tightly. So when we put it up, we're going to put 2 loops up against this handle here. That will put this in place. On this side of the machine, this is where your ground clamp is, right here. That goes against your work. That will go and get wrapped up and be put right on these 2 handles. Over on this side of the cart, we have our cable. Our cable should be wound up and put onto this hook. Come back up to the bottle. Make sure when you're done using it, you close the bottle off. These bottles are expensive. The gas is expensive. 1 bottle is very expensive. Put the pin back in it. And now we're ready to roll. If we're running the hard wire, I would suggest to start with to come down here around I to J and somewhere right between 5 and 6. That is an optical for the wires that I'm running here in the shop. If you get into more of a lighter material or heavier material, you will look underneath the gate, this door, and you will find a chart that will help you with the thickness of the wire and the heat. So inside the gun that we have on there, you have what they call a gun liner. This is very much like a choke cable on a car or a bicycle brake cable. It has windings all the way around, and the wire travels in the middle. If you bend this or kink it, the wire can't get through and it drags, cause restriction, and that will jam up everything. This bicycle cable or liner, welding liner, goes over here inside the tip of the torch and gets pushed all the way through. So I'm going to push this all the way through. As you can see, it goes all the way down, and it will come out down here at the far end. Cut. As you can see, the wire had to come all the way out until it gets to here. At that point, we put on this piece here, which screws directly onto the gun. That will be locked on, once I do, with a Allen wrench. Over here on the far side, we push this and bottom that out. Tighten this up with an Allen wrench. That stops the liner from coming out and going into the spool of wire. Go back to the tip. You have the tip housing here, and then you put the contact tip in here, and that will screw in. The power is coming up through the outside of the casing to this boss, up to the contact tip. This is what's going to energize the wire for the welding. This area right here to the contact tip, to the end of the contact tip. We take the end of the gun, put your contact wires in first. They'll pull around. Then this is just placed in there, and it slides in. On the far side, you tighten up this wing nut right here, which will lock the gun in place. Take your two contactors, they come over here and get placed on these two gun contactor control, right there and there. Now we take our wire. So now we're going to thread the machine. If you get a bird's nest or you need to replace wire, you need to know how to thread the machine. You come in here and put your wire on where it's coming from underneath to go in there. Make sure that you align this hole with this boss right there. Goes on here and it'll lock in place. Pull out your wire and hold it with two hands. If you let this go, it will unravel and cause a terrible mess. Bring a set of cutters. Bring it in here to cut the wire. Make sure you're hanging on to the spool side. You cut the wire. That gives you a nice clean end. Now, in this area right here, you need to thread the wire in. Have your door open so that you can push the wire in and you'll see the wire come across, and then you have to line it to the other hole, push it through until you can get it so that you can trap this down. Pull up your spring load, go to the front of the machine, turn the machine on. Grab your torch, squeeze the trigger. You'll see the wire start to spin. What it's doing now is it's pushing that wire through that bicycle cable that you were looking at, and it should come out up here in a little bit. I can speed the wire up for now to speed up the process. And there's the wire. Right there. shut your machine off, replace the tip. Then, just very little snug, give it a little twist. You don't have to have it extremely tight. The heat will tighten this as you weld. Then you put on the shielding cover. That's the nozzle right there, shielding nozzle. Now this machine is ready to weld. So once you get your nozzle on, you can come over here and set your wire speed back down to about 5.5, your heat up to about I. That'll get you started on most things. Again, refer to the chart on the machine in order to get the proper wire settings. I hope that you found this video helpful, and happy welding.